Diddly, and welcome along to my garage. My name's Fred Hope, and today we are doing a CUB-PARISON comparing the Honda C90 12 volt square headlight to the 2022 Honda Cub Super Cub 125. Let's go. The Honda Cub 90 is about 180 centimetres long. At its highest point, it's about 103 centimetres ignoring the mirrors. Take the mirrors into account, 123. Bars are 65 centimetres wide. Off the centre stand, the seat is about 77 centimetres. 76. New Honda Super Cub's about 190 centimetres long, 10 more. Highest point without mirrors is 104, with mirrors 123. Got ourselves a wide boy here, 70 centimetres, 10 more than a washing machine is wide. Most of that is made up by bar end. Seat height off the centre stand, 77 centimetres, one more. Super. How heavy is it? Not too bad. How heavy is a Cub 90? Lighter. How does a Honda Cub 90 look when you're riding it? Like this. Mirrors are 76.5 centimetres wide. How does a Honda Super Cub 125 look when you're riding it? Like this. Mirrors are only 75 centimetres wide. Very upsetting. That centimetre and a half makes a difference. What does the key for a Honda Cub 90 look like? That. 5 centimetres long. What does the key for a Honda Super Cub look like? Not a key. It's also enormous. Almost 3 inches. Good enough for some. How do you turn a Honda Cub 90 on? Like that, like that, and like that. Also, if you're a naturally aggressive person, Honda fitted this guy with a kickstart. How do you turn on a Super Cub 125? Well, like that. How does the headlight look? Like that, like that, and even like that. How does the headlight look on a Honda Cub 90? Well, like that. And like that. Not so good. How are the indicators on a Cub 90? Like that. Slightly broken. Indicators on the Super Cub 125 were designed by NASA. LED, yo. Matrix. Drum brake front, drum brake rear. Disc brake on the front with bloody ABS. Drum brake on the rear. Hashtag vintage. Nice. Leading link forks on the front. Hashtag old school. Telescopic forks on the front. Uncredible. Non-standard CG125 shocks on the back. Hashtag pimp my ride. The originals were crap. Lovely looking new shocks with the additional music bell end feature. Cylindrical foot pegs covered in rubber. They're about the size of a Cadbury's mini roll. Much bigger pegs, much softer rubber. They're about the shape and size of a Magnum, perhaps even a loaf of bread. They're enormous. How do you lift the seat up? With a little button. Oh, oh, hello. How do you lift the seat up? Aha. Where's the toolkit? It's in there. You need a penny or a screwdriver to get it. How many gears has it got? 1, 2, 3. How many gears has it got? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's got 5.13 horsepower. Cheers, JHS Racing. That's got 10 horsepower. Cheers, Modern Japan. How big's the hole in the exhaust? Not even first knuckle. How big's the hole in this exhaust? Second knuckle. Massive. What does the seat on a Honda Super Cub 125 feel like? Overdone steak, hard, not very nice. How does the seat on a Honda Cub 90 feel? Soft, comfortable, like delicately poached fish, much better than a Super Cub 125. How does it look when a bloke of 185 centimetres and 106 kilos sits on a Honda Cub 90? Like this. Touches your leg if you go to full lock. But comfortable and totally variable 4.5 movement. How does it look when a guy of 106 kilos, 185 centimetres sits on a Honda Super Cub 125? Like this. Suspension's harder, less of an angle on the legs, just about as much room during full lock, but the biggest problem, 4.5 movement, you've got next to none. 2 separate seat pads. This is bad. So what's it like to ride a Honda Cub a short distance, like to Devizes? Well, I've just been across the Devizes. The bike even broke on the way. And it was a nice easy task to go to a mate's house and get a spanner, and then I went to the butcher's to get some meat and also a dog bone. It was fun, loud, slow, noisy, vibrating, very economical, 130 miles to the gallon, and it felt like a big achievement just to get there, and fun. Right, let's complete this CUB-PARISON. I've done about 30 miles on both today, Devizes and that way on that one, Marlborough and that way on this one. First of all, we need to boil down or distill what a Honda Cub is and what it means. It's just enough motor vehicle to do almost anything. People have ridden around the world on it. Some people it's their only family vehicle. There's just enough motor vehicle there to do almost everything, and because of that limitation, anything that you do on it and everything you do on it is fun and feels like an achievement. Then think about the word super. Is that above, beyond, or better than that? In many cases, yes. Sometimes a little bit, sometimes by a country mile. In a couple of areas, not actually. Does that mean that one is more fun than the other? One's better than the other? One, it depends who you are, it depends how much pocket money you've got. Would you be disappointed if you only bought one or the other? No, you wouldn't. It almost depends which one's closer to your house. Would you be disappointed if you had both? Definitely not. Are they similar enough for elements of that to be recognisable in that? Most definitely. Are they different enough to be able to enjoy them on their own merits? Most certainly. We'll go from top to bottom. The mirrors on that are far superior. They're non-standard, so I can't really say, but they fit. Those are terrible. They're too narrow. It's my fault for being the shape and size I am, to a degree. But I think it would benefit from wider mirrors, whether that's actually the mirror itself or whether it's just wider antennae, I don't know, but it needs that. The headlights on the two is like comparing the new iPhone 14 to a Marrow. It's just no comparison. It's like pitting the Wright brothers against NASA. That headlight is dreadful. That headlight is superb. Steering the bike, they're both extremely manoeuvrable. You can 3-point turn them. You can basically stand there and pick the back up if you're in a really tight spot. They're both really light, both really manoeuvrable, stationary. As soon as you start moving, that one's comfy. It's soft. I'd call it floppy. Does that speak of the quality and maintenance that that particular example is at? A little bit. But change of direction, it kind of flops over the centre point in a sort of lollopy, blancmange way. And it's hilarious to do, and you're flat out everywhere doing it. But occasionally on a mid-corner bump, you do feel like if you were giving it another 5 miles an hour, it might chuck you off. That is actually quite precise and quite sort of snicky and nippy, and it's more powerful. It's got twice the power. So you're keeping up with traffic. The trail behind you is not quite so big. It doesn't die as readily up hills. And it's just nice to use. Work your way down from where you're steering it. You get to the front brakes. This absolutely smashes the old Honda Cub out of the water. Much more brake feel, so more modulation. I pull it a tiny bit, you get a tiny bit of brake. More, you get more. More, you get more. That, you basically grab a handful and you're squeezing it to the bar and just going, please stop, please stop. This, you can turn the ABS on, so it's got more stopping power than it needs. It can overcome the friction of the tyre, and that is cool. That said, both of them in the wet are diabolically crap. That is less crap than that one, however. Move back from the front brake. I suppose you're talking about foot pedals and the amount of vibration that comes through the engine. that vibrates itself stupid, and you're basically pinned wide open all the time. This, because it's much quicker, that is not to say it's quick. I've had properly fast bikes. That is not fast, that is not sporty, that is not particularly dynamic, but it is nippy. It's just far more refined. Is it the squishiness of the rubber on the pegs? Is it how new the engine is and how well balanced it is? Is it that it's brand new? Probably, but all the throttle inputs on that and the gear change is really sort of jerky, and it probably speaks of how bad a rider I am. But everything seems jerky on that, and like the rubber mountings, if there are any, are completely shot. That feels just so plush and so well executed. The gear change on that, just close the throttle, no jerkiness, click the lever down, absolutely silken, crack the throttle open again, and it just smoothly off, making progress. Whilst we're down at the foot pegs, the fourth gear makes a massive difference. That is screaming its heart out at 55. That I'm convinced would go over 70 when it's properly running. Apparently they take about 1,000 miles to relax. But nevertheless, that will keep up with traffic. I even let a motorcyclist out earlier and then kept up with him. Again, that's not to say I'm a good rider, I'm not. It's just that I was able to do the speed limit and keep up. Think your way up from the foot pegs. We're talking about the seat. I'm disappointed with the seat on that, up to the point where I will modify it. I'll either put an air cushion thing or a sheepskin on it. That's awesome, because as soon as you start getting a spot, if you're sitting there for a long time, and I've done 200 miles in one day on that, you just move your bum a bit, just slide up the seat, slide back the seat, and it's great. Also, the sponge in there perhaps has degraded over time, perhaps was just softer to start with, but I don't find that seat that impressive. I know it's a lot like push bikes. Some people, I've borrowed a bike before and it had a saddle that felt like sitting on a bag of knives, and the guy I borrowed it from said it was very comfy, and equally I've lent people my bikes where I've got a saddle that feels nice and they've said it's just cut their perineum to bits. Moving further back, I suppose you talk about the exhaust and the rear brake as they're in the same vicinity. Exhaust is much quieter on that, less buzzy, but also sounds quite good. This just sounds like it's screaming its heart out everywhere, because it definitely is. And then the rear brake, they are the same. I believe that they use the same shoes, it's the same drum brake arrangement. If anything, the drum brake on that feels more vague and less immediate than the drum brake on that. Is that an adjustment thing? Quite possibly, but the rear brakes are the same. Rear shocks, worlds apart. Even though that's got upgraded shocks, it still feels like an old bike. That feels really grown up and quite basically like someone sat there and went, let's make this go around corners well, and then succeeded in doing so. So if I had to throw one in the bin, which would I throw in the bin? Blimmin' heck. I think I probably have... I don't know. They're that good. And the really weird thing is, I like older stuff. There's an Africa Twin there, there's an old Volvo out on the drive. I've had like 30 cars and I've never had a new anything. And new motor vehicles just do not excite me, even slightly. This excited me so much that I went looking at that, and that excited me so much I bought it. Is it great value for money? I don't think so, because you can have 125s for less. But does that have enough of the elements of that to make it desirable and worth the money to me? Yes, it does. New vehicles at the moment for everyone are really peculiar. The waiting lists are massive. The prices are high. The price of used is high. So if you can find a used one and the price is good and you want to skip the waiting list, definitely buy one, especially as the cost of everything is going up at the moment. Once you've bought that, it's doing 188 miles to the gallon. It's cheap to insure. It's cheap to tax. It's a wonderful counterpoint to everything going up and costing the earth. If there's one of those down the road, or a friend has one, or you can source one locally, or you just like the look of it and fancy more of a classic experience, something that might break a little bit, now and again and something that you can fix totally by yourself, then get a CUB-90. But as a CUB-PARISON goes, more grown up, quicker, more sophisticated, more modern, better at keeping up with traffic, nostalgic, fun, a quintessential classic vehicle experience on a shoestring. If I were you, I'd just get both. Thank you very much indeed for watching this video. If you do end up buying one, if you have one, let me know what you think by pressing buttons. And that concludes it. That's a CUB-PARISON 2022 Honda Super Cub 125, which is super, against a Honda CUB-90 from 1988 with electric start. Cheers.